Yugi versus Kaiba, the long-awaited duel between these two legendary duelists. Spoilers! Yugi comes out on top. But I wondered, was this the definitive outcome? Could one or two different plays have changed the trajectory of this duel? How about we find out together? So, let's jump into the duel.
Yeah.
The duel begins and Yugi goes first. He draws and his opening hand consists of Queen's Knight, Big Shield Gardener, Exchange, Collected Power, Magical Hats, and Light Force Sword. Yugi starts by summoning his Queen's Knight into defense. He sets his Light Force Sword face down and ends his turn. Why didn't he summon, or even better, set his 2600 defense Big Shield Gardener face down?
Who knows?
No idea. It's Kaiba's turn and he...
It's not a dramatic opening play. It's a passive opening play, if you will, which, while the better play, arguably, right, it is a passive play, and it is not as attention-grabbing. Like, oh, Queen's Knight, got him! That's
draws. His opening hand consists of Obelisk the Tormentor,
Rough.
X-Head Cannon, Spell Sanctuary, Lullaby of Obedience, Power Balance, and Enemy Controller.
You see Obelisk, your Tormentor in your opening hand, just rough!
Kaiba starts by summoning his X-Head Cannon. He then activates his Spell Sanctuary. Due to its effect, both players add one spell from their deck straight to their hands. Yugi adds Change of Heart, whereas Kaiba adds Soul Exchange. However, that's not all. Now, for as long as this card remains face up on the field, both players can activate spell cards during the opponent's turn, as long as they were set first. This is a weird effect to tack on.
So, they're just spell speed too? They're just quick plays?
Because we've already established that during Battle City, if you set a spell card, even if it's a normal spell, you can activate it during your opponent's turn. So I'm not
Battle City rules relevant.
quite sure why Kaiba's playing a card that does this here. It doesn't hurt the duel, so let's move on. Kaiba chooses not to attack. Instead, he sets his enemy controller face down and ends his turn. Why didn't Kaiba destroy Queen's Knight? Well, that's because he's setting up an OTK. He wants Yugi to fill his field so that he can use Soul Exchange that he just added to wipe Yugi's board and then attack the game with Obelisk. In all honesty, this is a fine strategy, but at the end of the day, he should have just attacked. By destroying this one card, Kaiba would have created a ripple effect for the rest of this duel. And while I can't guarantee he would have 100% won by doing this, it would have helped a lot more. It's Yugi's turn and he draws Alpha the Magnet Warrior. Yugi, unable to get over X-Head Cannon, summons Alpha into defense. He sets his Change of Heart face down and ends his turn.
God, Duel Monsters is so... Yu-Gi-Oh! Was a different game back in the day. I'm already just like, yo, why is he not summoning his Alistair? Why is he not grabbing his Magical Meltdown? Why is he not... Why he not search 5 times in a turn? Where's Nibiru? Where's the Rock? Wow, this is a blast from the past.
The play that Yugi could have done here was, he could have summoned his Alpha into attack, switch Queen's Knight into attack, activate Change of Heart, take control of X-Head Cannon, and then attempt to attack with all 3 for game. It's a good idea in theory, but had he done this, then Kaiba would have just used his enemy controller to take back his X-Head Cannon, and now Yugi would have had no defenses next turn. So overall, Yugi, well done on not overcommitting. Good play. It's back to Kaiba and he draws Interdimensional Matter Transporter. With all the pieces in place, Kaiba begins his OTK. He starts by activating Soul Exchange. Now he can use Yugi's monsters currently on the field for his tribute.
That's an anime effect. Soul Exchange should be 1 monster.
Realizing Kaiba is about to go for Obelisk, Yugi plays Change of Heart to take control of Kaiba's X-Head Cannon. However, Kaiba plays his enemy controller. By paying 1,000 life points, he takes back X-Head. Realizing if he doesn't stop the summon, he will lose the duel, Yugi activates his final face-down Light Force Sword. With its effect, he can banish 1 random card in Kaiba's hand, face down for 4 turns. With a 25% chance of hitting Obelisk, the play is successful. He's banished, and Kaiba is no longer able to summon any monsters. Kaiba ends his turn. Yet again, X-Head Cannon could have destroyed a monster on Yugi's side of the field. Kaiba didn't do that. Why didn't he do that? I have no idea. Should he have? Yes. Misplay Kaiba. It's Yugi's turn, and he draws Life Shaver. Yugi yet again can't make any plays, so he sets his Exchange face down and ends his turn. Why didn't Yugi summon his Big Shield Gardener into defense and also set his Life Shaver face down, which, I'll remind you, Life Shaver, for every turn it's face down on the field, it makes your opponent discard a card for every turn it was set. A very powerful card. And the fact that Yugi has Exchange face down, you really don't want a powerful card like this in your hand. It would have been much better on the field. There's no reason why he shouldn't have set it face down. Yugi, now you've misplayed. It's
Got him.
Kaiba's turn, and he draws Y Dragon Head. He summons it to the field and activates its effect to equip itself to X-Head Cannon. This increases its attack by 400. Kaiba enters his battle phase. He attacks Alpha, and it is destroyed. Kaiba then enters his main phase 2 and activates Lullaby of Obedience. Now, by paying 1000 life points, he can declare the name of a level 8 or higher monster, and if the declared monster is in Yugi's deck, he can add it to his own hand. Kaiba declares Slifer, the Sky Dragon.
That's
As
the
Kaiba
one.
takes Slifer, he notes how deep it
I was about to say, little did he know Yugi sided it out.
was in Yugi's deck, laughing about how Yugi would never have even drew this card in the duel. Hilariously though, after waiting for Kaiba to walk all the way back over to his side of the field, Yugi smiles and says that he and Kaiba think alike. He activates Exchange.
he let him walk all the way over there, all the way back over to his side. Kaiba, damn it! I wish I thought of that. God, the bromance between these two is just unreal, and I love it.
Yugi reveals here that he also had planned to steal Kaiba's Egyptian God. He was going to wait for it to come back into his hand from Light Force Sword, activate his exchange straight away, and snatch it straight back. However, since Kaiba was nice enough to add Slifer to his hand, he thought, I'll take that one instead. Kaiba now walks back over.
You see, he's like, oh, he's both angry and impressed, and just like, God, this is why I love dueling you.
Yugi takes Slifer. Kaiba takes Life Shaver. Kaiba ends his turn.
the dynamic.
Kaiba takes Life Shaver. Kaiba
You piece of shit! Don't you made me walk all the way back over here?
ends his turn. I have to reiterate, if Yugi would have set Big Shield Gardener and Life Shaver last turn, the only cards that Kaiba could have picked would basically never have helped him out in this duel. And not only that, Yugi didn't need to use Exchange straight away. Kaiba can't summon Slifer, so why not wait for your turn? And then you can set your Life Shaver face down and maybe just leave the magical hats in your hand and just give him that instead. Oh, and not only that, but also, Yugi gets tunnel vision here. Yugi is so fixated on getting his Slifer the Sky Dragon back, he never even looks at the rest of Kaiba's hand. We know this because Yugi is later shocked to see Kaiba use Power Balance, something he should have known. In fact, speaking of Kaiba, you're not off the hook either. Why didn't you set your 2 trap cards face down during...
So here's the that is open information. So for example, if I were to use a card that let me look at my opponent's hand, right, and they say had Obelisk the Tormentor, Winged Dragon Ra, Slifer the Sky Dragon, and Raigeki in their hand, right, and say I were to pick Raigeki to bring to my hand, there's no reason that I should not know that he has Ra, Obelisk, and Slifer in his hand. That at that point is open information. There's actually rules in the game where, say for example, if you have to search your deck for one card, so there's certain effects like search for one Sky Striker spell card, right? I think it's engaged with it. But anyways, say you go into your deck, say you get multi-roll out, right? You have to reveal it to your opponent to, via the rules, clarify that, yes, you have picked a Sky Striker spell card, right? So then you add it to your hand. At that point, your opponent has open information that you have Sky Striker multi-roll in your hand. That is open information. So that is a good call.
Your end phase. Had you done this, when Yugi draws during his next turn, you could activate your Life Shaver straight away. This would force Yugi to discard 1 card. And then you could activate your Power Balance to halve Yugi's hand, leaving him with only 2 cards and allowing Kaiba to draw 2 new cards. This play would have absolutely decimated Yugi's resources and bolstered Kaiba's own. So unfortunately, Kaiba, misplay to you too. It's Yugi's turn and he draws Soul Rope. With little options, Yugi summons Big Shield Gardener into defense. He sets Soul Rope face down and ends his turn. It's Kaiba's turn and he draws Z Metal Tank. Kaiba starts by setting Interdimensional Matter Transporter face down and then summons Z Metal Tank. He then combines all 3 of his monsters together to make the fusion monster XYZ Dragon Cannon. Kaiba enters his battle phase and attacks Big Shield Gardener. It is destroyed, however Yugi plays his Soul Rope. Since a monster was destroyed, he can pay 1000 life points to special summon any level 4 monster from his deck. He chooses King's Knight. And since King's Knight is summoned, while Queen's Knight is on the field, he is also able to special summon his Jack's Knight. Kaiba
3 tributes.
Shenanigan and misplay time. First of all, Fusion summoned monsters can't attack the turn they are fusion summoned according to
Yes, that is a Battle City-ism. That is not modern rules. That is a Battle City-ism.
Battle City rules. So, Kaiba attacking with his fusion summoned monster is technically an illegal play. However, I'm going to give him the benefit of doubt. I'm going to say because he didn't use polymerization to summon his XYZ Dragon
Contact,
Cannon,
yeah.
because it was contact fused, it bypassed this rule.
Technically, yeah, because like there's really very few things that contact fused. XYZ wasn't. Yeah, it was contact fused. Yeah, so that is the loophole here technically because it wasn't someone using polymerization. So if anything, polymerization or say a card like a modern card that I use, like Invocation or Branded Fusion, right, would have the clause the special summoned monster cannot attack the turn it is summoned, right?
Okay, I'm giving you an off there, Kaiba. There you go. What I am not going to let off is the fact that Yugi has 3 monsters on his side of the field. He also has Slifer the Sky Dragon in hand that you absolutely know about. Yeah. Why not use the effect of your XYZ Dragon Cannon, discard some cards, and, you know, just destroy some of his monsters so he can't summon his Slifer next turn?
Yo, Kaiba misplaying like me out here. I've tried to read Giant Ballpark, like the field spell, like 10 times. It still just makes 0 sense to me. I do not know how Giant's Ballpark works. But Kip, it's just a field spell. It does this. Look, I've tried reading it. My brain just cannot comprehend how this card works. It feels like it has 15 effects in Ballpark decks.
Even better. Let's go back to the start of the turn. Let's not set Interdimensional Matter Transporter face down. Instead, before we even enter our battle phase, let's discard 3 cards, destroy the back row, a monster, and then another monster. Yeah. Now, Yugi has absolutely no field at all. You can attack directly, deal 2,800 damage, and then next turn, Yugi can do absolutely nothing.
Right.
And next turn, for your turn, you'd win the duel. I have seen you do this very play in future episodes, so unfortunately, there's no...
It's because Kaiba realized he misplayed here. He's stewing about the Pharaoh making him walk all the way back over with that exchange. He's like, damn it, how do I get him next time? Oh, wait. Shit. XYZ Dragon Cannon actually has an effect, goddamn.
Excuse. Misplay. It's back to Yugi, and he draws Pot of Greed. He tributes Queen's Knight, King's Knight, and Jack's Knight to summon Slifer the Sky Dragon. Its attack becomes 3,000 since Yugi's hand contains 3 cards. Yugi attacks, but as he does, Kaiba activates Interdimensional Matter Transporter to banish XYZ until the end of the turn. Since the attack target of a monster was removed due to the anime rulings, Slifer's attack fizzles and no replay occurs.
So how that would work, so say for example, if we had compulsory evacuation device, right? So if I were to, say, have Slifer the Sky Dragon, and I were to attack, right? And what ends up happening is my opponent, like, you know, interdimensional transporters, or like compulsory activation device, they somehow remove the monster I'm attacking from the battle. I think this is during attack declaration, right? Battle phase, no, even if it was attack declaration and during damage calculation, actually. So during both phases, if it is removed, a replay occurs. So say my opponent has a Blue Eyes and a Red Eyes, right? And I'm attacking with Slifer. I attack the Red Eyes, and they remove the Red Eyes from the game, or they bounce it in some capacity, so that way there's no target, right? At that point, I have the ability to replay my attack, and Slifer can go slam into Blue Eyes at that point. This comes into... They invoked Purgatory, alright? Invoked is a deck that I play because I'm a fusey little bitch here. I like my invoked and branded decks. Fusion's just my favorite mechanic in the game. If I were to say I have a Purgatrio at 3,300 and you had something at 3,000, right, and you were able to bounce 2 cards that lowers me by 600, suddenly I'm at a 2,700 versus a 3,000. Something like that could come into play where, like, I want to declare attack again, but at that point I don't have the attack strength to do that, so therefore I have to pass. This is an anime-ism where Slifer's attack quote-unquote fizzles.
Yugi ends by setting his Pot of Greed face down. As he does, Slifer's attack is reduced, and XYZ returns to the field. Should Yugi have activated his Pot of Greed at the start of his turn, see what I was going to draw it into? Spoilers, it wouldn't have been anything that would have really helped him out. And I understand why he set it face down. It's going to be a nice little trap later. Pop that up, increase your monster attack by 2,000. So, I think it was worth a gamble. No misplay here.
It's because you can use the any spell card effectively as spell speed 2 in this specific format, as that is effectively a trap to draw 2 cards and Slifer gets plus 2,000 attack points. It's reactionary at that point.
It's Kaiba's turn and he draws Command Silencer. Since 3 turns have passed, the effect of Light Force Sword ends, allowing Kaiba to add Obelisk back to his hand. But wait a minute. Shenanigans. Technically, Light Force Sword lasts for 4 turns. Kaiba is getting Obelisk back a turn early. No idea why they changed the effect of this card. It's a bit of a weird thing, because if you actually look at the Japanese version of this card, even if you can't
Because Kaiba's got money.
read Japanese, you can see the number 4 right there. So it was a weird thing for them to change. Anyway, due to Battle City rules, fusion monsters used for tribute summons are worth the amount of materials they are made up of. So Kaiba is able to summon his Obelisk the Tormentor by only sacrificing his XYZ cannon. As it is summoned though, Slifer's effect activates. This reduces its attack by 2000. Kaiba, not willing to crash into Slifer, decides to set Power Balance and command Silencer face down and ends his turn. For the fact, the dub shows the wrong cards face down here. If we look at the Japanese, it's the right cards. On Kaiba's end phase, the effect of Slifer disappears, since God cards can only be affected by effects for 1 turn. This is the last time I'll mention it, but had Kaiba set Life Shaver and Power Balance the previous turn, he could have made Yugi discard 1 card here with Power Balance and then attack with Obelisk. Yugi would have used Pot of Greed to boost his monster's attack, but then Kaiba could have used Life Shaver to make him discard 2 cards, putting Slifer's attack at 1000. Slifer would be destroyed, and Kaiba, most likely, would have won the following turn. I'm noticing a little bit of a trend with Kaiba here. Probably should talk about that at the end. It's Yugi's turn, and he draws Chain Destruction. Slifer's attack increases. Yugi activates his face-down Pot of Greed and draws 2 new cards. He gets Card Destruction and Disgraceful Charity. Yugi attempts to attack with Slifer.
Didn't we get Disgraceful Charity IRL? I thought we did.
However, Kaiba activates his command Silencer to negate a declaration of an attack. He is also able to draw 1 new card. He gets Kaiser Seahorse. Yugi sets Card Destruction and Disgraceful Charity face down and ends his turn. It's Kaiba's turn and he draws Blade Knight. Yugi immediately activates his Card Destruction. This forces both players to discard their entire hands and draw the same amount. Yugi discards Collected Power, Magical Hats, and Chain Destruction.
I'm trying to think about how Slifer works with Card Destruction. So if you activate Card Destruction, discard, and you have 3 cards in hand, Slifer's at 3000. If you discard all 3 cards and then draw 3, technically there's no change in stats because it's all a single action that cannot be interrupted, if I remember correctly. Because it's not like you discard 1, discard 2, discard 3, and then they're all separate actions, right? It's as long as it resolves on the chain, you should retain at the same value, right? I think that should be how that works.
He then draws 3 new cards, which are Kuribo, Spell Textbook, and Electromagnetic Turtle. He discards his Life Shaver, Kaiser Seahorse, and Blade Knight. He then draws Sword of Soul, Thirst for Compensation, and Card Guard. Yugi then
cards that don't exist because he has money.
And plays his Disgraceful Charity. This allows both players to add all the cards they just discarded back to their hands. Both players now have 6 cards each in their hands. Kaiba activates his Thirst for Compensation. Since Yugi added a card to his hand, Kaiba can special summon 2 level 4 monsters from his hand in face of defense. Kaiba summons Blade Knight and Sword of Soul. As they are summoned, Slifer's effect attempts to activate. However, Kaiba plays his quick play Card Guard, and by discarding Kaiser Seahorse, Kaiba's monsters are unable to be destroyed by battle or card effects this turn. Kaiba attempts to go for game by
the stat point loss should still go into play though, right?
Activating his Obelisk's effect. By attributing 2 monsters, he can deal 4000 damage to every monster on the opponent's field, and then inflict 4000 damage to the opponent. Since Slifer has over 4000 attack points, it is not destroyed. However, the direct damage is still incoming. Luckily, Yugi discards Kuribo to reduce the damage to 0.
Isn't there like 17.5 steps to damage step or something? Like there's a meme out there that there's like 17 and a half steps. Kuribo is the half step in regards to damage.
Kaiba sets Life Shaver face down and ends his turn. Had Yugi not jumped the gun and used Card Destruction at the start of Kaiba's turn, he could have done this in the battle phase. When Obelisk attacks, Yugi does his Card Destruction, Disgraceful Charity combo. Kaiba wouldn't have been able to do a thing about it. And how would the turn be different? Well, Obelisk would be destroyed, Kaiba would take 2000 damage, and now Kaiba would be on the back foot. misplay Yugi. It's Yugi's turn, and he draws Necromancy. Yugi immediately enters his battle phase and attacks Obelisk. However, Kaiba activates Power Balance. This forces Yugi to discard half the cards in his hand, and then Kaiba draws the amount discarded. Yugi, holding 6 cards, discards Collected Power, Electromagnetic Turtle, and Chain Destruction. Slifer's attack is reduced to 3000. Kaiba then draws 3 cards, 2 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon and Polymerization.
The best artwork.
Before Slifer can be destroyed by battle, Yugi plays Necromancy, which I'd like to point out isn't a quick play spell,
Nope.
and thus means Yugi activating it here is actually an illegal move. So shenanigans again. Regardless,
Because he's in the battle phase. I mean, you could activate it during your opponent's turn, but this is not a quick play spell. It's not Rush Recklessly. That's already been set, right? It is that's not a proper activation.
Anyway, Necromancy's effect is 4 random monsters from Kaiba's graveyard get special summoned to the field in defense. However, every time one is destroyed, all other monsters Kaiba has will lose 600 attack. As they are summoned, Slifer's effect kicks in, reducing all of their defenses by 2000 and thus destroying all 4. This, in turn, weakens Obelisk by 2400 attack. Yugi now has the upper hand. However, Kaiba reveals that his Sword of Soul has the effect that when it is destroyed, it can increase the attack of a monster on the field by 1000. Now, Kaiba has the upper hand. However, Yugi reveals his Electromagnetic Turtle's effect in the grave. Once, while it's in there, he can end the battle phase immediately. He does this and sets Spell Textbook face down.
I think when we got Turtle in the TCG, I think it was cited for quite a while. Like, I mean, it wasn't like meta defining, don't get me wrong, but like, I remember Turtle was in some side decks because it does things, or it did do things in the TCG for a little bit of time. Played at the beginning, it's why it's playing at the Battle City already allows for normal spells. Right, no, but that, yeah, right. That allows for that, those to be played outside of current rule set, yes.
And ends his turn. As he does, Obelisk's attack returns to normal. It's Kaiba's turn and he draws Final Attack Orders. Kaiba immediately enters his battle phase and attacks. Yugi activates Spell Textbook. Now, by discarding all of the cards in his hand, which is only magical hats, he can draw 1 card. And if it is a spell, he can activate it immediately. Yugi draws, and what else does he get but the ultimate spell card, Card of Sanctity.
Got
it is
him.
activated straight away, allowing both players to draw until they have 6 cards in their hand.
Yeah, it does not do this in the TCG. Like, that, there's no way that would be legal.
Yugi draws 6, which are Dark Magician, Magic Formula, Spellbinding Circle, Magician's Selection, Red Eyes Black Dragon, and a mysterious card that is never actually shown. And it's about to get discarded, so it doesn't really matter. So, let's just say it's Gaia the Fierce Knight. Kaiba only draws 2 cards. He gets Card of Demise and Cloning. With 6000 attack, it looks as if Obelisk is about to be destroyed. However, Kaiba activates Life Shaper. Since it's been set for 2 turns, Yugi discards 2 cards. He sends Dark Magician and Gaia the Fierce Knight to the grave. Now, since both monsters have 4000 attack, both are destroyed in the battle. Kaiba ends his turn by setting Cloning face down. It's Yugi's turn and he draws Gazelle, the King of Mythical Beasts. He summons it into defense. However, as he does, Kaiba activates Cloning to summon a clone token of...
I mean, this isn't dissimilar so far to Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the first player builds a board, the second player attempts to crack the board. If the board is successfully cracked, the subsequent turns are building up for the next assault. I mean, they started the game, Yugi and Kaiba both got Obelisk and Slifer out. They crashed each other, and now they're going to build up again. It's true. How many years later?
Gazelle to his side of the field. Yugi ends by setting Magic Formula face down. It's back to Kaiba, and he draws Cost Down. He activates it to lower the level of 1 Blue Eyes in his hand by 2. Now, a level 6, he sacrifices Gazelle to summon Blue Eyes to the field. He uses it to attack and destroy Yugi's Gazelle. Kaiba ends his turn. It's Yugi's turn, and he draws Monster Reborn. He activates it to special summon the Dark Magician he discarded 3 turns ago. Yugi sets Spellbinding Circle face down, and ends his turn. It's Kaiba's turn, and he draws Magical Trick Mirror. He sets it straight away to reduce the amount of cards in his hand. Then he plays Card of Demise to allow him to draw cards until he has 5. However, after 5 turns, he must discard his entire hand. Don't worry, the duel will end before that 5th turn ever happens. Since he has 3 cards in hand, Blue Eyes White Dragon, Polymerization, and Final Attack Orders, he is only able to draw 2 cards. He gets a 3rd Blue Eyes White Dragon and Lord of D. Kaiba summons Lord of D to attack, and then he ends.
It's the D. God. What, 20 plus years later, we're still memeing at him?
His turn. Why didn't Kaiba attack over Dark Magician with Blue Eyes? Well, to be fair, he's playing cautiously, and he's right to be so. Kaiba deduced with his past knowledge of Yugi's deck that his face-down cards would be an attack boosting ability for Dark Magician and a card that would hinder his monster. By summoning Lord of D, however, he has prevented his dragon from being targeted by the detrimental effect. However, he knows if he attacks into Dark Magician, he will most likely boost the monster and will most likely lose his own. So that's fine. What's not fine though is the fact that he's got Polymerization in his hand. If he used Polymerization here, he could make his Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. He can attack into Dark Magician and inflict 1,500 damage. Even if Yugi used his face down, it wouldn't have helped him. It's Yugi's turn and he draws Beta the Magnet Warrior. He summons it into...
I mean, to be fair, how many times have you had you're staring at your opponent's back row and you're like, that's gonna be a Mirror Force. That's got to be a Mirror Force. And you're playing cautiously because you just know somehow it's going to be the Mirror Force.
Defense and then uses Dark Magician to attack Lord of D. Since one of his monsters is being attacked, Kaiba is able to activate his magical trick Mirror. With its effect, he can activate one spell from Yugi's grave immediately. He chooses Monster Reborn and brings back Obelisk the Tormentor into defense. Due to Egyptian god cards' anime effect, when they are summoned to the field in defense during the declaration of an attack, that monster attacking is now forced to attack it instead. Dark Magician collides with Obelisk, costing Yugi 1,500 life points. Yugi sets Magician's selection face down and ends his turn. As he does, Obelisk returns to the grave. It's Kaiba's turn and he draws the Flute of Summoning Dragon. He switches Lord of D into defense, and then activates the Flute of Summoning Dragon. Due to its anime effect, both players can now special summon up to 2 dragon monsters in their hands to the field. Kaiba summons his 2 Blue Eyes White Dragon, while Yugi summons, to Kaiba's surprise, Joey's Red Eyes Black Dragon. Kaiba enters his battle phase. The first Blue Eyes attacks Dark Magician. However, Yugi activates Magician's Selection to negate the attack.
Hold up. He's got both normal monsters, Dark Magician and Red Eyes. This was the man. Do I smell a Dragoon coming? You would never see that in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Without a Dragoon.
And destroy the weakest monster on Kaiba's side of the field, which is Lord of D. The second Blue Eyes attacks and destroys Beta the Magnet Warrior, and the final one attacks Red Eyes. However, now, since Lord of D is no longer protecting dragons from being targeted by card effects, Yugi plays his Spellbinding Circle to reduce the attack of Blue Eyes by 700. Yugi chooses not to negate the attack, and so Red Eyes destroys the weakened Blue Eyes. Kaiba ends by setting Polymerization and final attack orders face down. It's Yugi's turn and he draws Double Spell. He sets it face down and then switches Red Eyes into defense. However, Kaiba plays Final Attack Orders, which forces all monsters into attack position and makes them unable to change their positions. And not only that, both players now pick 3 cards from their decks. They keep those cards while sending all other cards to the grave. The cards chosen are then put back into the deck in whatever order the owner chooses. Yugi picks Defusion, Diffusion Wave Motion, and a final card that will never be drawn. Kaiba picks Monster Reborn, Absorb Spell, and also a final card that will never be drawn. Let me know in the comments, what do you think Kaiba and Yugi picked for their final cards? Let me know. It's Kaiba's turn and he draws Monster Reborn. He activates it, bringing back his destroyed Blue Eyes White Dragon. He then activates his face-down Polymerization to fuse all 3 together to
the best artwork.
Make Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Yugi responds by activating his face-down Double Spell. With it, Yugi can activate all spell cards Kaiba just used. Yugi first uses Monster Reborn to special summon Buster Blader. This card was sent to the grave when his deck got wiped. Next, he activates Polymerization. He merges Dark Magician and Buster Blader together to make Dark Paladin. Due to Dark Paladin's effect, it gains 500 attack for each dragon monster on the field. With Red Eyes and Blue Eyes on the field, its attack increases to 3,900. Kaiba unable...
Remember when Dark Paladin was incredibly expensive? Like, incredibly expensive? And then they got printed into the ground. That's the one.
Able to attack due to Battle City Fusion rules, I guess, is forced to end his turn.
Yeah.
And here is where I reveal the disappointing truth about this turn. Had Kaiba simply brought back his Obelisk the Tormentor, he could have sacrificed his 2 Blue Eyes White Dragons and won the duel by inflicting 4,000 damage that Yugi would have been completely unable to stop. Huge misplay, Kaiba.
Yeah,
you could have won right here. It's Yugi's turn and he draws Defusion. He sets it face down and ends his turn. It's Kaiba's turn and the penultimate turn of the duel. He draws and gets Absorb Spell. Some weird stuff happens here, but follow me. Kaiba attacks. However, who he attacks is never actually stated or shown. It's assumed Red Eyes, because that way he can deal enough damage to win.
Right.
However, this is contradicted by the fact that when Kaiba attacks, Yugi activates Magic Formula to boost Dark Paladin's attack by 500. So maybe he was trying to destroy Dark Paladin, but he wouldn't have won, so that's a bit weird. Plus, why did Yugi use Magic Formula? It's going to give Dark Paladin 4,400 attack. That's not enough to get over Blue Eyes, so pointless. But it doesn't matter anyway, because Kaiba activates his Absorb Spell, which sucks up the attack.
I mean, so at that point, it's Yugi activating Magic Formula as a precautionary measure, Kaiba seeing him act on it and being like, aha, you fool, I got you where I want you.
Boost to his monster instead. Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon now has 5,000 attack. But that doesn't matter. None of that play just mattered, because Yugi's just going to use Diffusion right now and split up Blue Eyes into the 3 separate monsters.
Right.
Now, since there are 4 dragons on the field, Dark Paladin's attack increases to 4,900. Kaiba, unable to win, ends his turn. Now it's Yugi's turn, and the final turn of the duel. He draws and gets Diffusion Wave Motion. Yugi, more than capable of winning by simply just attacking into Blue Eyes, decides instead to flex. He pays 1,000 life points to use Diffusion Wave Motion. Now, Dark Paladin can attack every monster on Kaiba's side of the field. Yugi attacks all 3 Blue Eyes with Dark Paladin. Yugi wins the duel.
And this is why Kaiba consistently just... he both loves and hates this man. Because rather than just winning by attacking, right, he just dunks on this man.
So, I feel like I've said everything I need to say throughout this duel, but this duel was a victim of, you can definitely tell that the plot is dictating people's actions. Kaiba absolutely got shafted in this duel.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love this duel to bits. And of course, every single duel, plot is going to dictate how plays get done, and we want to see spectacle, don't we? So, that's fine. The only reason why analysing this duel has annoyed me a little bit is because it's very, very blatant. It's not been hidden, it's not been like ambiguous, it's just Kaiba's been forced to make bad plays so that Yugi could win. It is still a really good duel, and if you would like to see a more fair duel, if you will, then check out the Dark Side of Dimensions duel. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Catch you later.
Dark Side of Dimensions was great. That was excellent. I absolutely loved that. And there will be more of this content coming soon, I assure you. As a Yu-Gi-Oh player that needs to be playing more games with my... We're not going to talk about how much I dropped on Branded, let's put it that way. Quem and Bestial Lubellion themselves kind of speak for themselves in terms of value. But I digress. That was excellent. Awesome video.